All right. Happy Thanksgiving. Tomorrow's the day here in the United States of America. So, man, happy Thanksgiving, you guys. Love this time of year. So, today, coming on here Wednesday afternoon, we were just going to talk about and answer any questions you guys had related to just kind of supplemental nutrition, especially for the 40 plus crowd, and, how to build muscle, maintain muscle mass, lose that belly fat, because, they kind of go hand in hand. And I would say, you get, teenage years, 20s, early 30s. A lot of people are just clicking right along. Man, they're eating whatever they want. Maybe they're hardly even exercising and living off Red Bulls and Monsters. And lo and behold, they seem to be doing fantastic. Just no problems. And then over and over again, I find in my practice, here they come, turn 39, 40, 42, 52. And man, what happened? I've been doing the same thing. And you know what? I'm getting really different results. My body is not responding like I want it to. It's like I'm gaining weight. My blood pressure is going up. I don't have the energy anymore. I can't stay up all night and get up the next day and just go for it. My stamina isn't there. Just my body's just feeling weak and tight. And it's like, if I go to the gym, it's like, wow, I'm like 80 years old. It's just, it's too much. And so it really is a time frame in life where one, we got to lock our food routine in. If we don't have our food routine locked in, it's tough for anything else to do much for us, including supplements, because supplements, what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to supplement a lifestyle that is promoting life and longevity, quality, quantity, strength, stamina, all that good stuff. So, if we're eating McDonald's, eating donuts, as for lunch and living off Dr. Pepper, it's going to be tough for any real supplemental nutrition to make a big inroads in our health and to feel like, wow, that stuff is rocket fuel for me, because of, the overall lifestyle, the other inputs that are going in. I will say, though, for some people, especially when it comes to like amino acids, essential amino acids, creatine, in that 40 plus category is, you can kind of see like a lift in the person's spirit or their well-being by having, creatine or essential amino acids on board, because you do use essential amino acids to fuel or to be a resource for, essentially all your neurochemicals. And so if you have a low resource pool of essential amino acids, then your neurochemicals, for everything from, serotonin, dopamine, melatonin, GABA, norepinephrine, epinephrine, down the line, you may not be getting what you need, and you just may not feel as motivated, you may not feel as driven, you may not feel the energy, you may not be getting as good a sleep, simply because the amount of essential amino acids, that pool is deficient, which then leads to a deficiency, and an imbalance in a lot of the neurochemicals. So that can be a way to, help. You don't necessarily have to just like eat perfect in order to use supplemental nutrition to help yourself out. But we want to be shooting. By the way, there's no perfect when it comes to food routine, but we want to be aiming towards more real whole foods, because that's going to make life just so good. So when it comes to the 40 plus crowd, say you got your routine, you're feeling pretty about your food routine, making strides in that front. You got I'm going to the gym, 3 days a week at least, trying to get some strength training in. I'm trying to get some extra walking, movement, maybe just mowing the lawn. But wintertime, got to find something else to do. Then adding in things like, I would say, essential amino acids are a beautiful one, because if we want to maintain muscle mass and maintain strength and the stimulus for our body to create muscle, we want our body to be saying, hey, like when we were 20, it was just making muscle, or 18, just making muscle, and we weren't doing anything. Just laying on the couch, you're playing video games, and it was build muscle, maintaining muscle for you. But with time, around age 28 or so, it seems like where we kind of hit that height of the body just doing it for us. You start losing a little bit of that hormone sensitivity, testosterone sensitivity. You start losing a little bit of that the stimulus for protein synthesis to build muscle, maintain muscle tissue, maintain bone tissue. You start losing some of that stimulus. And if we don't do something to force adaptation to occur, to force our body to keep that stimulus up, then yeah, we're gonna all of a sudden find out, a decade later at 38 and then 40, 42, 43, 44, that this is not going as well as I thought this was going to go for me. And so that's where things like essential amino acids can become really handy, because you can either, just eat gobbles of protein and feel just, maybe sick from consuming so much protein, and maybe with a bunch of nitrogen waste from that protein, or you can use something like essential amino acids, which will stimulate that protein synthesis, get that protein synthesis, that anabolic response going, overcome the anabolic resistance, and and you're just like taking in 10 grams of essential amino acids a day versus an extra 60 grams of protein a day. So I think that is one of the main places where essential amino acids are huge for the average man or woman out there, especially in that 40 plus category, who's wanting to maintain muscle mass, wanting to recover faster, wanting to keep that anabolic response going in the body, which anabolism is the growth, versus catabolism, which starts happening, the sarcopenia effect that starts happening as we get older. So secondly, when you're, say you got some belly fat you put on over the years, sitting at your computer desk or driving your car to all these meetings or whatever it is, or just got out of the habit of being active, as you're getting back into it, a lot of times there might be some caloric restriction involved with that. And essential amino acids are a great way to keep that fat burning happening and keep the body in a protein muscle building state while you are in a little bit of a caloric deficit, as you're trying to clear some belly fat or hip gain or arm gain that is not your biceps over the last 10 years. And the thing about them is, essential amino acids are almost like a non-caloric substance compared to versus the protein. Protein's fantastic, but it's like, well, there's calories coming in with every time you consume a gram of protein, right? There's 4 calories every single time. So that would be a great way to use essential amino acids. And I would just say, when you do use essential amino acids, it's really important to, especially some of the formulas I work with, that you take them just with water. I wouldn't be mixing them. You could use them with creatine and water, but don't be mixing essential amino acids like with your protein smoothie or in your coffee or in pancakes or whatever, because the specific ratio of essential amino acids coming into your body at one time really is what has this big anabolic effect and supports that protein stimulus to be put in motion for our body. So you really want it just water and essential amino acids, or water, essential amino acids, and creatine at one time. And I will use those usually post-workout, inter-workout, or right before a workout. I generally personally don't like to have just a ton of stuff, even like water weight, in my stomach when I work out. So it usually is like sipping it. If I was doing kind of like one of my more standard CrossFit workouts, which looks like, some maybe like particular lift that we're doing 4, 5, 6, 7 rep or sets of, and then the next is more like a Metcon or something that's more high intensity for a particular amount of time, or AMRAP, that kind of thing. Then I might just sip them while doing my stricter movements that don't have my heart rate way up. But anytime right before, during, after, that's the biggest bang for your buck when it comes to essential amino acids and getting what you want from them. Secondly, creatine. Big fan. You probably hear it. Creatine is just all over the place. People just talk about it nonstop, and I think for good reason. There's everything from the well-being effects, which I think can be great for the 40 plus crowd. There's the stamina and the energy effects, and then there's, of course, the muscle gaining effects. I remember when I was a junior, maybe junior, senior year, high school, starting taking creatine, and I was like, whoa, my bench went up in a hurry. This is crazy, and I put in like 6 pounds in like a month just taking creatine, which, a little bit of that would come off, when you cycle off it. But, I had this patient, gentleman, he had cancer and had gone through a few rounds of a conventional therapy, but was doing pretty good overall. It's just that he was so tired all the time. And his wife was mowing the lawn, doing all the outdoor stuff. He said my wife just does everything, or had been doing everything, because he just did not have the strength and stamina to do it. It's like, man, I want to get back to being the man of the house kind of thing. And just like 50, probably about 56, 57 years old at this point. And so it's like, what, we should just get you on some creatine. Let's take about 3 to 5 grams a day, and just probably take 3 or 4 weeks to probably notice a big difference. But let's see if it doesn't build up that stamina, because we know it helps the mitochondria, helps the body create energy, helps refurbish the muscle cells, helps you recover from any kind of activity you do. And lo and behold, this guy actually had another patient come through and say the name of this gentleman. Like, I saw him out there mowing his lawn. I have not seen him do that in like 5 years. He's never, his wife's always out. I was like, wow, that's cool. And then I was talking to him. He's like, yeah, it made a huge difference in his energy, his stamina, and just his strength after about a month of being on creatine. So I think there's there's a lot to be said beyond just Muscle Magazine for creatine. So many levels it's showing benefit, even for like detoxification pathways and helping the body with methyl donors, and then the whole psychiatric part of things, which we use a lot in helping with general well-being, and then of course muscle and energy and all that. But when it comes to creatine, I do not think you need to be utilizing creatine at these max doses. Got people out there, very popular people, promoting like there's no amount of creatine you can take that's too much. You just take as much as you want. 10 grams a day, 20 grams a day, just go for it. My consensus is that everything has a threshold. Everything has some threshold where you start getting more downside than you are getting benefit. And so I generally stick to around 3 to 5 grams, especially when it comes to workouts, taking about 3 to 5 grams a day during workouts, and then cycling off it at least like once a month. Or going for a month and then taking like a week off, or going for 2 months, taking 2 weeks off. Of course, if you're training for something, or you got like, I'm gonna do an Ironman or these kind of things, you may not need to do that, or may not want to do that. But for most of us, like myself, I'm a dad. I got 8 kids, a practicing physician, and a husband, and I want to get my workout in, stay as fit as possible, so that I can be there for my kiddos and not be getting injured, and have a lot of energy and sharpness of mind. And so I personally just use creatine when I'm working out. So if that ends up being 5 days a week, if that ends up being 7 days a week, if it ends up being 4 days, then that's when I take it. And I think for a lot of people that's more than sufficient to get what you need from it. Of course, if you're vegan or vegetarian, on that front, then you would you're probably just going to want to have a little dose of it all the time, because there's even effects potential on cardiovascular fitness and cardiovascular disease related to too little creatine being on board. And the main place we're going to get creatine in our diet is by eating meat. We're not getting it from vegetable matter. So if anybody says they have a vegan creatine out there, I want to ask them what brilliant scientist created that kind of thing, because it's not coming from nature. All right, and if you guys have any questions, you can always feel free to leave them in the comments here. Let's see. I've been on your irons. This person's been on iron since May. Going to have my labs done in December. My ferritin was 13. Shortness of breath and hair loss. Yeah, so you want to good. Should be super helpful. Canny, with getting you through that. Generally, when it comes to iron, she's talking about, so it's a formula called Blood Vitality that's under the DR Wholeness brand, but told a game changer for so many people out there, and those testimonies of its awesomeness. But yeah, for your hair, really, if it's still thin, you generally need to get it up to about 70, ferritin around 70 often, to help with hair restoration. And if you're taking Blood Vitality, then you don't need you don't need extra iron, because I mean, you don't need extra copper. I'm trying to read these questions and answer them. You don't need extra copper because copper is already in blood vitality. It's already present in there. That's one of the things that makes it beautiful is you have, these microdosing of the essential minerals and nutrients that are needed to utilize iron in the body. And so you don't have to take these gobs of all these extra, supplements and bottles and wonder what's happening here. So yeah, the copper, like the iron, is in that, and then zinc is in the matrix, that rice protein matrix, that is easily uptaken by the body. So you shouldn't need any extra. I wouldn't take any extra copper than what's already present. And then I think in creatine, can be great, especially the thing is if you've been low in iron and you're trying to make a comeback, and you're fatigued, and you've been fatigued for a long time, so it means your mitochondria are downtrodden, are not putting out what they ought to be putting out, or what you want, or what they think they should be putting out for your body's capacity to do life. Then adding something in like creatine, it can be super helpful to just make it easier. I think that's what when it comes to supplementation, that is my thing. How do I make it easier for my body to do the thing that it wants to do, that it's awesome at? And so making it easier, as easy as possible for the body to create energy. And that's where megadosing of things, like megadosing of iron, I think is harmful to the body. And megadosing of creatine also, it's going to create imbalances. So that's where that 3 to 5 grams, and if you were to use like elite fuel creatine, so that basically either about half to a full scoop, would be 5 grams is 1 scoop. But so half to a full scoop. And for most ladies, usually I say do 2.5 grams, so half a scoop, and that can go a long ways in helping out with energy, muscle gain, and not excess of water retention happening, because nobody wants to feel like usually puffy, right? Unless you're an offensive lineman or something like that in football. All right, so thirdly, on what I was thinking for the whole 40 plus crowd, and is that protein, clean protein, like goat whey protein, my go-to. Use it every day. My kids use it. My wife uses it. Throw it in everything, kind of thing. But the beauty of goat whey, especially goat whey concentrate, is that it is just so nice and light and easy to digest. It comes in like there's not gas, bloating. There's not all this harshness that can often be found for a lot of people with standard cow-based whey protein, and it's very low as far as allergenicity. And like I was mentioning before with the amino acids, is we need basically a higher overall protein input to get the biggest bang for our buck when it comes to maintaining muscle mass and protein synthesis as we age. And so if we're tired and we're not getting very good sleep and we're racing all over the place, and we're just kind of feeling down on life, or there's no shortage of depression, anxiety, well-being issues these days, then often we're going to turn towards more, real concentrated carbohydrates, sugars, these kind of things. And, we're just getting more belly fat, right? And we're going to get less protein stimulus to create muscle tissue and bone tissue and connective tissue. And so utilizing something like goat whey protein to help keep that stimulus going, to help us maintain muscle mass, maintain bone tissue, maintain connective tissue, so we just feel a little better all the time. If we feel a little better all the time, then we have a little more energy and we have a little more capacity just to do life. And that often can, just get us down the road to getting out of the space of, man, this is tough. 40 plus, what happened here? All right, so Trudy, if you could only choose one supplement to help with fibromyalgia, what would it be? Trudy, that's a fantastic question. You know what? I would use creatine. If I was going to say there's only one thing, and you say you knew, like B12 was normal, levels were normal, and say iron levels were normal, creatine would be my go-to, because one, it's CoQ10 is a good one as well, but CoQ10 is really, really expensive, and you would have to take a lot of it to make a significant difference. Whereas creatine is not very expensive, and you can it's going to make it so much easier for the cells to create energy. And fibromyalgia, that's a big problem there as far as the mitochondria. I mean, there's a lot of hypotheses about what is actually happening with fibromyalgia, but generally speaking, From the ground level, the mitochondria are essentially screaming that we can't create the energy as efficiently as we want to, and that is leading to pain signals, flooding that tissue. And so creatine, both from a well-being standpoint, because there's usually some kind of often trauma associated with fibromyalgia, and then the just purely energetics of the mitochondria themselves supporting energy transfer and creation, I would say creatine. All right, Josh says, "What's up, Josh? I've heard a lot of talk recently about TRT. How do you feel about TRT?" So that's testosterone replacement therapy. Yeah, I mean, TRT is nothing wrong with TRT because I do use it with patients. I'm definitely a big fan, though, of taking a step back and saying, okay, how could we get the body to create its own testosterone? Because the body's meant to create testosterone, and you don't have to. One of the lies out there that's perpetuated like crazy, I think maybe some of these longevity places, to get more people on the TRT, is that testosterone is just going to get lower. 28, and it just keeps on going down. You look at these graphs they put up saying everybody's testosterone is lower than it was previously from 1950s, these kind of things. But the deal is, I'm not saying it's not going down, but most of that is lifestyle generated. That's lifestyle generated. And so if we start adjusting the lifestyle, and we start, maybe you make sure you have enough essential amino acids. We make sure our food inputs are just loaded down with real wholesome meat, eggs, fruit, vegetables, nut seeds, pumpkin seeds, these kind of things. Make sure the nourishment's there. We say, okay, you know what? Phone's off. I'm going to bed. It's 9 o'clock. Calling it. I got 8 kids, so sometimes it doesn't always work that way, but the phone can be off, that's for sure. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna try, if it's feasible within life, I'm gonna get 8 hours of sleep a night. And then, I'm gonna look at, okay, am I just eating all day long, or am I taking time to take breaks in the day to eat? Meaning that I eat, and then there's a break, and then I eat, and there's a break, versus just snacking all the day long. All of these things can really add up to why testosterone is not sufficient in the body, and it could be. So I would not just jump to testosterone replacement therapy. I got 20-year-old guys coming in trying to get on TRT. I think it's ridiculous, and I try to help them understand, that's in the end that's gonna make life a lot more challenging than if they were not to do that. And I have guys right now who were 20, 30 years ago were on TRT and are in their 50s now, and would tell me, what, man, I really wish I would have done something differently back in the day, and let my body do a lot more of the building, and basically had more knowledge on how to do that. Because there's benefits. I like I said, I've made videos on that. There's stuff, depression, anxiety, a lot of kind of stuff that I've used the TRT to help guys get out of. And you can get off it. You definitely can get off it. I've got plenty of guys off it as well, and even women. But I wouldn't jump to it, that's for sure. All right. Is it okay to take additional vitamin C with Blood Vitality? Yeah. Additional vitamin C, nothing wrong with that. There's a little bit of vitamin C in Blood Vitality, Courtney, but you can always take, if you're going to take vitamin C as a way of basically supporting iron uptake, and bringing that hepcidin level down, then I would tend to try to dose it throughout the day. 250, 500 milligrams, 2-3 times a day. That's how I do it, because it is the consistency in the blood that seems to make the biggest benefit there, rather than just taking one big bolus dose of it. I have been taking Blood Vitality, can attest it is working, so thank you. That's awesome. Can you tell me what is the best time of the day to take it to get the best effect in the body? Yes, I'm not sure exactly what their name is here, but the best time of the day to take Blood Vitality would be in the morning. Pretty much any iron is to take it in the morning. But for some reason you have some people there's nothing they can put in their body. It's the first thing when it comes in a capsule form in the morning. So if that's an issue, then I would wait till you have your first meal, take it with maybe take it with your lunch. And I can attest to my own wife when first time she started taking it about 7-8 years ago now, to get her levels up while she was pregnant and having a lot of nausea and just headaches and all kinds of terribleness with really low iron levels, that she would take it all kinds of times of the day, and just depending on how she was doing. But her levels came up great. In fact, she would even take it with coffee, and which we tell people not to generally, but as her levels 31 days later, her levels came up from 9 to 23, and we had the babies that were able to have the twins at home because of that. So yeah, there's it really, in the end, consistency is your best friend when it comes to taking Blood Vitality or the iron. But ideally, I would say in the morning, fasting would be my go-to. All right. Travis Christina Riley here. Hey guys, are there certain supplements that we should take at the same time together that either could cause stomach upset or cancel each other out? Basic daily supplements. Yeah, I mean, the most common ones to cause stomach upset usually for people are zinc and iron. And I mean, maybe a few other minerals, but generally zinc and iron are the most common ones. So think a multivitamin. Most of them have zinc in them. So that would be a common one. So generally, I would have people take it with food. I will say, so I have a product called the Zinc Plus that has some beetroot, zinc, and propolis in it to help with immunity. And I literally will take that thing just empty stomach, walking out of the house in the morning, and I've never had any issues with it. So it kind of depends for all of us how our body responds to things. But generally, I would take a multivitamin with meals, because it should just get absorbed better anyway, because a lot of those, there's fat soluble vitamins there and that kind of thing. And then there's not when it comes to, say, general B vitamins, they don't tend to really interact with anything majorly. And there's not a whole lot of, calcium and iron are a big one. You want to take calcium with iron, they'll bind, and then you won't get the effects of the iron that you're wanting. But otherwise, most vitamins, unless we're talking about, there's herbs and stuff we can get into, or if you have, you're like doing some kind of you have autoimmune disease or cancer, we're trying to, make something really special happen in your body. Generally speaking, a lot of basic vitamins don't have any kind of major interaction with each other when it comes to, halting their absorption outside of the whole calcium and iron. Definitely do. Or, if you just take tons of zinc or tons of copper, you can offset or cause the an imbalance of some other minerals or each other. So, but yeah, otherwise, for basic supplements, I would tend to just take them with food. That almost all vitamins and nutrients are going to be uptaken better with food, because normally, how do we consume? Like, we're eating food to get the nutrients, right? Those vitamins and minerals, and maybe our food supply is depleted and we can't get as much from food, or we need to get back on top of things because of depletion issues. But yeah, if you have it with the matrix of food, usually you're going to get a lot more from those vitamins. All right, let's see which other one. And then beef organ supplements are trending. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I'm a fan. I think beef organs can be super helpful. I think, yeah, just kind of looking at your source, where you're getting them. But otherwise, yeah, I think there's plenty of value there. There's a lot of value, for some of the, female issues and male issues, whether it's perimenopause, menopause stuff, or even some issues with amenorrhea and that kind of stuff. I've seen definite benefit using some beef organ supplements. And then I think the thing I think often about when it comes to beef organs, whether it's the liver, the spleen, the kidneys, whatever you're taking, intestines, uterus tissue, testicles, is if you think about a beef cow, all right, well, there's only 2 testicles on the beef cow. You're probably not going to eat that. You're not going to go kill a beef cow every week so you can get their hit of the testicles. So or even the liver. It's only going to last. It would only last so long, generally, historically, without refrigerating and all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't, unless there's a specific condition you're going after. I tend to utilize, as a general health benefit for people, to utilize beef organs. Okay, take it for a week, take a break. Take it for a week, take a break, take a week, take a break, take it 3 or 4 times a week, that kind of thing, versus just on and on and on and on and on and on. And except in cases, for, some people have kidney diseases, and we keep them on the kidneys for a long time, where they have different, allergenic issues that we use the kidney organs for, and that kind of thing. But otherwise, yeah, I think there's plenty of benefits to be had there for sure. All right. Yeah, Danny, listen up. No. Any advice on never getting gout again? Man, gout's a good one. Yeah, lifestyle. Got to one is just check and make sure uric acid levels are good. Make sure all your inflammatory components are lined up, like the CRP, homocysteine, ESR. Look at like your lipoproteins. Is there any imbalance in the inflammation there? And then digestive wise, you got to, if the bacteria are in the right balance. Look at parasites, fungus, or yeast, and then any kind of bacterial infection kind of stuff going on or imbalances there. If those are right, it's going to be really, really hard to get gout if the bacteria line up right. And then tart cherry is a good one to take consistently. Lysine, definitely fan. Yeah, great for antiviral. And if you have issues with herpes or herpes outbreaks in your mouth or genital herpes, all those kind of things, taking lysine consistently, especially at a low dose, and then ramping that dose up considerably if you have an outbreak, can be really, really helpful. You've been taking 3 other day. Is that blood vitality you're talking about, Miss Canny? That's nothing wrong with that. You can definitely do that as long as just levels are going up. One thing about blood vitality is I don't find that people have to take it every other day. I've made videos on that related to iron, but you would need to take iron every other day or give it 2 days in between if you're taking these monster doses like 60 milligrams plus a day, which I think maybe one time we had this lady, like they were about to get a blood transfusion, we used 60 milligrams for like a couple weeks, but otherwise we never use that kind of dose. I would say 9 out of 10 times we're using basically about 30 milligrams, which ends up being 2 capsules of blood vitality with most all patients or even some of the coaching clients who have really low levels and have had issues forever. But there is definitely a lot to be said too about looking at dietary strategies to go right along with your if you're trying to get iron levels up. So a few of you asked about that. Is like, yeah, okay, we get the iron levels up. I mean, we're taking iron, so in order to get them up, let's tweak our food routine here and say, how could we support that? And so loads and loads of like raw vegetables and salads and broccoli and cauliflower and all that kind of stuff is probably not going to help you because it takes an insane amount of energy and digestive capacity to work through all those vegetable matter. Whereas meat, eggs, fruit, squash, zucchini, avocados, olives, cucumbers, like it takes very little energy for the body to break those food substances down and utilize them. And so if you're having issues with absorption and nutrition from your supplements, from blood vitality, or getting your iron levels up, these kind of things, then looking at adjusting your food routine so that it's as easy as possible for the body to get what it needs from the supplements you're inputting. Nice. Yeah, bone broth. Big fan. Bone broth is awesome. As long as you don't have like histamine issues, bone broth can be amazing. All right. So I was just going to mention one other one on here for the 40 plus population is, Spartacus. You want supporting free testosterone levels, supporting cortisol clearance. Beautiful. One of my favorites because what tends to happen as we get older is testosterone sensitivity goes down and the cortisol output and the amount of it being out there goes up. And so that affects our sleep, affects our ability to maintain muscle mass because cortisol is melting tissue, whereas testosterone is building tissue, right? One is catabolic, the other one's anabolic. And so utilizing something like Spartacus is a way to support that process, especially for that 40 plus population. Yes, Kenny, 100%. I remember meeting you virtually online. Overtraining is a big deal. Definitely can be a big deal. Overtraining in the perimenopausal state. The thing is, for guys and gals who are seeing that, man, their body is not going how they want it to go. It's like, well, what do we do? Let's train more. Let's work out more. Let's push more. Let's run more. Let's, sign up for another marathon. And then let's do, spin classes on the side. And let's, hit the CrossFit gym 3 times a week too. And that's not what the body needs, because that's just going to give you more and more cortisol output, more cortisol dumping happening. What we need is just a consistent routine where 3 days a week, 4 days a week. Let's go get some strength training in. And then otherwise, let's, do a HIIT, high intensity interval training, which would be like, CrossFit Metcon, where you're like, oh my goodness, that was intense. Doing something like that, once a week. And then otherwise it's like, okay, that kind of that zone 2 training where you're long walks, going for a hike on the weekends, just out playing with your kids all day long, these kind of things. And you will find, one, that you're not going to be irritating your body, and that cortisol is not going to be through the roof. Your sleep will probably be better. And then your whole experience, whether it's ladies in that perimenopausal state, which, man, I feel for you. You guys have it tough having to have these big hormone changeovers multiple times over your lifetime. But it can make it so much easier to get through that time and feel just so much more balanced. All right, so what is this? I was super thin. Should I only take blood vitality every 2 days? It all depends on what your ferritin level's at and what you're trying to get it to. But generally speaking, if percent of ferritin under 20, I would say to take it. We would have patients take it every single day, every single day, have them check their levels again in 4 to 6 weeks, see where they're at. And then once we've reached a normal level or their ideal level, symptoms are gone, hair is coming back, all those kind of things, then we would generally just have them take, especially if they're menstruating, just have it take during that period, that week of the period. Okay, just take during your week of period, and check it again in a couple months or after like 2 or 3 periods, and make sure you're maintaining your level good. And then after a while, maybe they can take it, all right, just take it the first 3 days of your period. But there is some research suggesting that you actually do absorb more iron during your period for ladies. And so that would be a reason to actually take it for sure during that time frame, and potentially even longer term when you're when you already have normalized your levels. But if you were low and you're still having your periods, high potential, you wouldn't be able to get it to stay that way until your periods stop, unless you do kind of like a complete life overhaul. I've seen it happen, but for a lot, in fact, actually, for my wife, she does quite well. It seems like during each pregnancy, her levels will go down, get going on blood vitality, and then a couple months after pregnancy, we usually can just take a break, and she maintains really well. So let's see. All right, so if you guys have any more questions, please put them up now. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to hop off here. But great questions. I hope that really helps you guys out. And you can always, this is, this stream here, I'll check back on it and answer any other ones that pop up on here for people that watch it later on. But yeah, I think generally speaking, for the 40 plus crowd, you want energy, you want stamina, you want to get rid of belly fat, you want to build muscle tissue, essential amino acids, creatine, and goat whey protein are, my go-tos. And then for the ladies with or people struggling with the iron issues, yeah, with blood vitality, I haven't seen any need to take it, every other day or every 3 days to help with absorption like that. I would just take it daily until you got your levels up, so you can make it happen as quickly as possible. You're super welcome, Kenny. Super welcome, Courtney. Hope you guys have just an awesome Thanksgiving, and yeah, you're just overwhelmed with gratitude because, man, we sure are blessed, aren't we? All right, I'll talk to you guys and gals